time that you sacrifice to watch this program on UCTV. It's something that really that everyone need to listen and we share our knowledge about this. You know that people right now that have been talking a lot about the wetland degradation. There have been, especially what's happening in Lovigi, where others are lamenting, others are talking a lot of things, but they don't know that one thing that they should understand, that wetland is the kidney of the earth. Without wetland, you will see how a body doesn't function well without the kidney, if the kidney is affected. So one of the things that we should see, that Uganda as a nation, we know that we have been losing annually like 800 kilometers square of wetlands in Uganda, out of the 1,831 wetlands that were gazetted by the government. That you find that annually we are losing out 40%, which is a very big loss to us as a nation. So that's the reason why you're seeing that the causes of this wetland degradation has been in urban areas and also in the rural areas. Like for instance, you've seen that like how right now the development is taking place. Yes, we don't want to say that we are sabotaging development, but we see that this development also is hampering, is causing us a problem in our communities, especially that you see the scenario of Lubiji, where people are saying that, oh, why are they breaking the churches? Why are they breaking the malls? What? No, before any other things, you know that you need first to do away with the causes. You need to come on ground. Like for instance, we know that if it was infrastructure development, which we know that it was not well situated in a place, it was situated in a wetland, which is affecting our development, which is affecting the wetland, which is affecting the ecosystem. Ecosystem. We cannot just say that, oh, we need a mall, but when you know that the mall is going to cause more problems to us, because you've seen like the scenario what happened in Kenya and Tanzania is out of what's called urban development. People went building malls, people went doing constructing their houses in the places where they know that really that this is good for us. But when the season change, when the climate patterns change, you've seen that hundreds of people lost their life. Why? Because they were sitting on a time bomb. And that's why now, as a nation, as Uganda, we need to embrace. We see that yes, my neighbor there was a problem with my neighbor, but my neighbor never learned that this problem would cause what would bring loss of life in that country. But that's why Uganda learned from Kenya, learned from Tanzania, that the way this climate change affected the people of Kenya, we need also to safeguard our people in the rural areas, in the urban area, where if it's farming, like for instance, you see that people just go and start practicing any type of agriculture in the wetland areas, which you know that at the end of the day is going to what? To degrade the wetland in the rural area. So that's why the reason why the government is trying now through its agency, NEMA, National Environmental Management Authority, is coming down to the area and saying, look, we can do better. At least let's use modern way of agriculture, practice good. We embrace good practice, good agricultural practices in our areas, in the rural areas, so that we can safeguard. Because you see that these wetlands that we are not paying attention to, it contributes a lot even to the GDP. And that's why when you see like factories like Agoa in Bugolobi, they are looking into craft. They are doing exports of craft, which is contributing to the GDP of the country. That's why now many people, if you see in the rural areas, they are into livelihood. Like for instance, someone goes and get papyrus, you make a mat out of it. But now if you do away with the wetland, it means that we are going to lose the papyrus, we are going to lose the birds. That's the reason why right now the crested cranes, we are losing out the crested cranes in our country. Why? Because of our human activities in the wetland areas. So with this, I know that we can embrace a lot. We can come out and sit down with the government. I know that one of the things which has affected us in Uganda is ignorance, because most people don't know about the policies in place. They don't know the government act about environment in places. But with this, if the government could embrace it, if people could come come and said, you know, the government, you've come up with policies, you've streamlined them, but we don't know about it. Can you preach to us about these policies so that we get to learn, so that even the LC ones in the villages, they embrace this, so that they will be like the safeguards or the environmental protection officers in their different villages. So we need really to treat what's called, first of all, ignorance in our country, so that we can avoid all these effects of the wetland degradation. So with that, really, I know that my colleague also asked something maybe to add on that in relation to the primary effect of the wetland degradation and what like these causes that he has seen, because he has also been moving in different areas and he has seen.
Well, thank you, Dickenz. The primary causes of wetland degradation. Actually, in Kampala here, we are having a population of over 4 million people. The city has become too small to hold that number. So people come from all over the country. Even others from outside the Congolese are here. We are having Kenyans, people from Kigali. They are all here in search of greener pastures. And then some of them come with high expectations, high hopes, but they are let down, they are frustrated, and most of them do not have a sustainable source of income. So where do they resort to? Where do they go? They encroach on the wetlands. They pull it down. That's why we are having such a high crisis of wetland degradation and the total land area. So one of the factors that would attribute to that is poverty. Poverty, people living in less than $1 a day, and they have to sustain themselves. They are having families to feed. Yes, we understand that, but we as Ugandans, we shouldn't become emotional on these issues. Wetlands contribute highly to our well-being. It contributes to the overall ecosystem that we all subscribe to. So we cannot downplay the effects of climate change due to wetland degradation. We cannot downplay the role of wetlands to our well-being and to the country at large. So poverty is something that has been there. And there are so many alternative sources to overcome this. If we are able to use wetlands in a sustainable manner, in a way that we are using the resources that the wetlands are providing, when we are well aware of the current generation, that they should also benefit from these resources. So the government has done a lot, but I would urge the government to scrutinize the efforts and the priorities of the investors, because they are given the leverage to invest in our country. Of course, we benefit from the investments, we get jobs, new technologies are being brought into the country. We really appreciate that. But in regards to that, we need to properly scrutinize their activities so that we do not turn a blind eye to their activities. So you find out that an investor is putting an establishment in a wetland. He was just saying that wetlands are kidneys to the overall ecosystem. So that is very fundamental. It is very, very fundamental fact that we should not overlook. They are like the aquifers, because we realize that, let me give an example of Chinawataka. Chinawataka was once a wetland, but due to migrations, people coming from all walks of life, and they have nowhere to settle, it has been reclaimed. And once it rains, the whole place is flooded. We look at Port Bell here, Kamwanyi community. The water floods to the brim, and actually people end up on their rooftops, like, they start nesting on their rooftops, which is very unlikely. It paints a very bad image for the Pearl of Africa that we are. It paints a very bad image. So all these places should be reclaimed back, should be reclaimed back. As much as we need these settlements, but look at the effects of climate change. Climate change is not a respecter of man. Once it comes, it shatters everything. Many have been killed due to the effects of climate change. So the primary cause that I would subscribe to is poverty and migrations.
For instance, this year you see that one of the effects really that has affected, which even led to the increase of the water rise in Lake Victoria, it has been out of the infrastructure development, which is you're seeing very many road construction taking place. And also that is something that also, is it the national, like KCCA and the government, or like that's Ministry of Transport, Works and Transport, where they should come up and also should come with, but they sit down with NEMA, sit down with KCCA, let these agencies sit down before like carrying out any road construction. Because first of all, you know that when you're doing this road construction affects the soil, whereby the soil loses is what? Its tenor. Where this tenor, you know that this tenor, when the soil loses out and when it rains, so this water that pours down, they don't have where they can what? Where they can rest or where they can flow. They end up just going into one places and start, like for instance, just a case scenario like in Lucira, whereby the office of the URA and Uganda Regulatory Authority, they were at the port were affected because of that. The soil there had already lost its tenor. Whereby when it rains, you find that the water is flowing all everywhere. Not only because of the road construction, but because the wetlands also have been affected in a way that they have never looked at a way how they can manage these bottles, the waste. Where you find that this waste, all these bottles, due to human activities, people around the lake and the business that they are carrying out, these bottles, all these waste that fill the wetlands, whereby when it rains, it's just like someone, you've been like your home has been taken over by something, so you don't have a place to occupy. So when it rains, you find that the flow of this water that they are supposed to go to their home, where wetland is their home area, where they are supposed to rest, where they don't find that their home no longer exists, what will take place? They will end up looking for another place. And that's why now they will go and what? I think retaliate and say now, let's go to this. And they end up affecting human beings. And people have never known that these wetlands are so much important, especially in water filtration. You find that the water we are complaining, the water is dirty, Lake Victoria nowadays, the water is dirty, the water is smelling, but they don't know that because they have what? They have raped the wetland. The wetland now, right now, is bleeding. So the only thing that we need to do is that we need to safeguard this wetland. Even though, yes, we have activities that we want to carry out, we should look first of all that will our activity, first of all, will it be sustainable in that environment that we are going to carry out? For instance, if we are going to fish, what modern way of fishing are you going to carry out in the wetland that will not affect what? The ecosystem. If it's about crop growing, which kind of agricultural activities, good practices that you are going to embrace in the wetland? If it's about livelihood, making that you know that like for instance, you're going to use those papayas, are you not going to affect the homes of the birds like the fake pigeons, the blue yellow papayas birds? Are you not going to affect them? Are you not going to affect the like the blue whiting, which right now in Uganda we know that it's Uganda globally hosts over 38% of these birds that the tourists come in the country to watch these birds. So we should look at our like the human activities and also the government development activities that they are going to do in those areas. So when these agencies they sit together and they should first look at all these other things, because we need tourism, we need livelihood to support the community, we need also industrial development. But what kind of industries are we going to establish in those areas? So with all this development, which are the primary causes of what? This wetland degradation, the government should first step up. And that's the reason why right now for me, when they're fighting NEMA is bad, NEMA is doing this. No, NEMA right now has woken up, is like doing a wake-up call to the communities, to our nation, that you know what? Last time we were still trying to harmonize this and this, but now we need to act, because it's better to act, to give what's called a early warning emergencies rather than waiting for the what? For the outbreak, where we are seeing thousands of people are perishing because of what? Someone's activity in the wetland area. When you're talking of conservation, you know that right now that Uganda, we cannot do we cannot do the mitigation, because mitigation is going to be too expensive for us as a country. And that's the reason why you're seeing that right now in the key scenario of Luigi, everyone is saying, NEMA should compensate what? The community, they should compensate. Let me tell you that NEMA cannot compensate all those 1,000 people. The government has no money to compensate. And now the problem that with also our community and the type of the community that we operate in, if the government say, okay, we are going to compensate these people, other people will look at it as a source of now business also. To say that let me go and build, maybe there was a wetland in maybe in the no man's land. That someone is, okay, they have compensated the people of Luigi. I think let me also go and carry out my activity. When NEMA comes, I know that they will put it down, but I'll get what? Capital out of it. That's the reason why NEMA has been. Let me tell you, these policies have been in place in the local government, in the district headquarters. That's why we have district environmental officers. That's why we have district forestry officers. We have all these offices. Why? For the well-being of our communities. That's the reason why now these people, this agency, because NEMA has a key coordinator of all the environment programs, like things to do with the environmental management, as a lead agency. They are the one now to harmonize and say that now, for instance, in a place like Luigi, what can we do in restoring the wetland in Luigi? They start going into what's called native species, planting native species in those areas, which will safeguard what? The wetland in that area. And not only that, planting these native species in that area, come out with what's called environmental awareness education in the community, in partnership with local agencies like the CBOs that are in those environments, in that arena. Bring them on board. Bring the LCs from LC1, LC2, LC3, LC5. Make sure that they are educated. They get to know about the environmental policies. They get to know the importance of wetland. They get to know the effect that if we fight this ecosystem in our community, this will be the effect. When the community embrace this environmental education, let me tell you, you don't need like a minister to go down in the village to do the work. It needs everyone to be a leader of themselves And that's always why I tell people that what is lacking in our country is that people have failed to embrace leadership. They think leadership is being in the government, being an honorable member of parliament, being maybe an LC1, or being maybe someone, a commissioner. No, leadership starts with us. If I know that this is my environment, where I'm the one who is the king of the environment, I'm the one who is the custodian of the environment. I don't need to wait for NEMA first to come and tell me that, you know what, your bricklaying that you're doing in the wetland is bad. And that's the reason why the president reacted. I said that people are saying that NEMA is chasing away people. Well, when they were building or when they were carrying out their activities in the wetland, they know that that they were carrying out their activities on the wetland. We know all that is a wetland. But except that for other aspects like ignorance, people don't know that maybe if they carry out this and this, it will what this will be the outcome, and you cannot blame them. So it means that the government should really invest a lot in environmental education. That's what's called awareness. Awareness should be really something that should be promoted in every community in Uganda, so that people are aware of this, policy, they are aware of this act, so that they embrace this what they embrace this environmental education, and they get to implement by themselves. You will not tell someone that go and grow what like a tree like gravelas. You don't need to tell someone. Someone should know that, oh, I need to grow this and this. Someone should know that I need to plant a bamboo, because you know that if I plant a bamboo in the wetland, one, I'm going to do what's called, first of all, if you're staying in an environment which is surrounded by industries, like people who are in Namamve, you know, first of all, that what I'm doing, I'm safeguarding, first of all, what's called carbon release, because wetlands help in what? In safeguarding carbon. It controls it absorbs carbon in the what? In the place. You know that first of all, you are also trying to get your timbers, or maybe your timbers for building, you're getting even out of the bamboo that you're planting. You know that first of all, you're getting craft out of the bamboo, where will be a win-win situation. You're protecting the environment, you're also benefiting at the end of the day in the bamboo that you're planted. So it's about us knowing what kind of activities or conservation methods that we should practice in the wetland, which we know that it will be sustainable for the local community, and also it will contribute to the what? To the government GDP. Because right now the government cannot employ every Ugandan. That's why the government is looking for a way how everyone can be active in their own what? Livelihood, so that they contribute to the development of the country. Development should only not come from the government, but it should come also from the community. A case scenario still like how Singapore developed. Singapore, it was not the government initiative only, but the development started with the community. With Angelina, the lady was called Angelica, where he mobilized our own community to embrace the environmental practices and see a way how they can what? Live without always begging or crying that government to yambe. So it's about us embracing these practices like restoration activities, like tree planting, which nowadays we don't call it tree planting, we call it tree growing, because you need to embrace it. It's not about just throwing seedlings there and you say who cares about it. It's about you growing. If you say that you're going to grow crops, look at crops like rice. You know that rice also contributes to the what? To the environment. It protects the environment. Look at things that you know that, oh, out of this that which I'm doing, at the end of the day, I'm going to benefit from what also I'm putting in place. So those are the things that really we are looking at, and also we are trying to support the government with our activism, trying at least to streamline things that the community can also benefit out of the wetland. Thank you.
Well, one thing I really picked from his submission is coexistence with the environment, with the wetland. So science called it a symbiotic relationship, where you benefit from the wetland the wetland is also benefiting from you. And that is the way to go. That is sustainable development. Otherwise, in cities, in Uganda here, cities, we realize that we're already in a state of limbo. And if little or nothing is done, we shall be in a state of quagmire, in confusion. So, I would stand with mitigation and adaptive measures to combat such evils that are taking place. You know, firstly, we need to understand the environmental and social pathologies happening around us. We need to first clearly come in terms with that. And another step after identifying that, we need to collectively take action to combat these evils. I'm talking about rallying all entities of society as a counteractive measure to combat what we are seeing right now. Of recent, in the World Environment Day, NEMA unveiled officially the environmental police. We need those people to, to help us in combating what we are seeing right now. We need the court, environmental court. We need, the government should think of unveiling a structure, a formalized structure, because we already have frameworks on environmental conservation, but we need an environmental court to judicate on these issues. We need the judiciary to stand with the climate champions like us, environmental conservationists like us, to back us up, to hold our hands as we are doing advocacy. We need structures right from the LC1 right to the executive arm of government. So I would stand still with what my colleague has been elaborating upon on the conservation in regards to adaptive measures and mitigation measures, because planting a tree, a right species of tree, by the way, in a wetland as a mitigational measure is something very crucial, because we know that trees have a way of holding the soil structure together. So once the right species, not eucalyptus please, because we realize that most wetlands nowadays have eucalyptus trees. We know that eucalyptus drain up the land instead of propagating it. So this is what the government should do. The government should think of a way of first eradicating eucalyptus from wetlands. It is very important that eucalyptus is eradicated, and then the right species of trees are replaced, onto the eucalyptus. And then on the adaptation measures, we need to now look at measures on how to live with the current damage. The mitigation measures may be a little bit expensive, like importing in the greener technologies, which can also be very expensive, but still the government has been doing it with its liberal way of governance, bringing in investors and attracting investors, and then in the long run, they bring in the technologies that we need to combat the issues of environmental degradation and climate change. We also need that. We need to attract investors to widely invest in the programs that are in regards to utility. Utility programs, utility projects, like installing something like windmills. We need that. So technologies that harness resources from the wetland, yet still conserves the resource. So we all need that. Thank you.
So, like with the, you see, like with the, for instance, why the government is coming out and see that they embrace the conservation measures. You know that every year the government comes up with what's called the National Adaptation Plan, and this year the government has launched the National Adaptation Plan 2. And these are the plans that also the government should reach out to the community, and they need to teach the community about this plan, their plan, because you see, like these communities, they have their local technology, which you just need like to practice their technology to add into the plans. Because if these plans, the government will start from the grassroots until to the what? To the central government, it would also be good, because you know that after every 5 years, always the global leaders, they expect Uganda always to present what's called the nationally determined contribution as a report of their what? Adaptation measures, the mitigation, the things that the country has been at least putting in place. If it's technology, they want to see that at least, whereby the government is now supposed also to reach out to these people. Like for instance, let us see, like the land, especially in Lubigi. Lubigi was occupying 1,841 hectares. And out of 1,841 hectares, we are only having 42 hectares, which is a very big loss to the government. It means like 76% of the wetland in Lubigi has been lost to the government. Whereby if you are to look at this wetland, that it would create a very big impact to the community around Lubigi. Like for instance, you know that this wetland will contribute to what's called water filtration. Secondly, they will see that out of this wetland will have what's called a green business for the local community. Like for instance, people who are operating, who are fishing, people who are into craft, people who are into tourism, like tourism sector. You know that will go for the bird watching. You will go for hiking, which is a contribution to the what? To the tourism sector of the government. You're contributing to GDP. And that's why the government see that if they just keep quiet and they remain there, they are the one who will make a very big loss if they don't act fast. And that's the reason why NEMA right now has seen the impact and the contribution that they would get out of wetland, which is more than just letting it to go. Because you cannot lose 76% of your wetland, whereby you know that if this wetland was well protected, it will contribute like over 10 or 15% to the GDP of the government, which is something that the government should embrace. Now, like you see that right now, if it rains, who are the people crying? The people of Boise, they are crying. The people of Kaleiwe, the people are crying. Why? Because the water, let me say that the water no longer have what? Running water no longer have their homes. Because of what? Their homes have been destroyed. Where we no longer have practices like bird watching, going there in the wetland and just because, let me say that there are certain People who leave their country. Someone is leaving Colombia just to come and watch a certain species of birds in Uganda. Is paying over $1,000 to come and just watch this bird. And now, like for instance, you have seen the report, the current report, that Uganda is losing out the crested crane, which is very bad for us. And we know that crested crane signifies a very big thing in our country. A very big thing where someone looking only at the flag of Uganda and looking at the crested crane, it will be saying that they say that these birds exist in Uganda. Why can't I take time to go to Uganda and I look at this bird, how it looks like? And you know that the contribution of that person, first of all, that person will come, will take up buying a visa, coming to Uganda, maybe booking a hotel for 1 week or 1 month, being in Uganda, which is supporting the business. Being there also using transport and buying things that you know that the person is what is bringing back the currency, the dollars is adding up into the economy of the country, where we do not need just to sit back and watch human activities eating up our wetland. It will just be like what we are just giving to, like you're giving a patient, a cancer patient, Panado, and you're promising a cancer patient of that, you know, it shall be well, you will heal. But when you know that just a Panado is just a painkiller, which will not help that cancer patient. That's why we need, as a community, to act faster rather than leaving everything to the government. Thank you.
Well, much has been done. A lot has been done. Actually, in the watch of the duty bearers. So, in the adaptation measures, I believe that we have to now live within the crisis, because we are already in it. There is no turning back. Much land has been reclaimed. So, I suggest, and of this, in my own opinion, we need to live within the boundaries and within the changes that has been made. So the government needs to now clearly demarcate the boundaries of the existing wetlands.
No, the government has already done. What you're hearing is just a political thing. Because if the government is giving you a report that we have 1,841 wetlands which they have gazetted in Uganda, it means that they have already done some work. It's just what people are coming out. It's just politics that they are trying to play with and all that. But the government, when you read the NEMA report of this year, which like last time in the World Environment Day, I managed to get one of the report, and you find that at least the government has what? Gazetted over 1,841 wetland zones in all of Uganda, and they know which wetland. And that's the reason why the president said that he's giving a summary. If you know that you're living within
it is this land.
So please,
yeah.
So it means the government knows what they are doing. It's not just something that they started yesterday.
To the public, we have seen that degrading wetlands can be so harmful not only to the individual, but it affects us as a whole. It affects the whole country. We have all seen that the floodings in Bwaise, the floodings in Chinawataka, the floodings in Luzira. At least I have been there. And it is so bad. So we need to be environmentally sensitive when we are dealing with the environment. Everything you do will impact on your life, my life, and the lives of the generations to come. So we need to utilize the environment in a sustainable manner, in a way that it will benefit you and it will also keep the needs of the future generation in check. Thank you.
Okay. or in African proverb says that whenever you see a frog out of water in a broad daylight, it means there is what? So, and right now, the outcries and the noise that you're hearing, it means that there is already what? A problem in our country. And it should not be a threat to us as Ugandans. It should not be a threat to the government. And that's the reason why now I thank the executive director of NEMA, Dr. Kankwasa, for coming out in public and accepting to carry the cross of Ugandans, and also the president, because he's not looking at pleasing everyone. You know that sociology states that human beings are irrational. You will never and never please them 100%, even though you do what. But we know that even development strategy states that development will always come with always difficulties,
Costs. Yeah.
and cost implication will always be there. So there is no way that in any developed world you find that they have experienced that. That's the reason why when Jennifer Musisi left, everyone said that, oh, we wish Jennifer was there in the city. Oh, we wish. But during the time when Jennifer Musisi was there, you have had, she was being really, they throw everything on Jennifer. Oh, she's doing this and this. But when she left, it's about stand and carry your cross, that you know that you're doing it for the well-being of life. It's better to protect 1,000 lives than to lose 1,000 lives. Because what you're doing, one, these properties that even we have lost, yes, we have lost it, but yes, tomorrow you still can recover them back. Just embrace what's called good environmental practices. Like, you know that there are a lot of things that we can get really from wetlands. Right now, if you have your land, go and grow trees. You know that right now, like a tree like silicon, you can only one of it like this if it's mature. You're getting like what is equivalent is it's rated to $500. $500 only a tree. If you have now like 100 trees of silicon, how much is that? If you know that you've grown your bamboos, how many? Right now, bamboo is on market. People are looking. Even the Kenyans are coming to Uganda to look for bamboos. There is one area of a greener business that someone can embrace. So it's just about us not only leaving things to the government, not only leaving things to NEMA. It's about us coming together and partner. Let's partner in this, because this environment is not going to affect NEMA only. It's not going to affect the government. It's not going to affect President Museveni only. It's not going to affect like Dickenz only. It's going to affect everyone. That's why climate change doesn't respect the poor, doesn't respect the rich, doesn't respect blue or yellow or white or black, doesn't respect. If everyone is accountable, everyone needs to protect their environment. We need to protect this Mother Earth, because without us protecting, and that's the reason when God established the Garden of Eden, and he put man in it. He did not just put Adam in the Garden of Eden to do nothing. He put Adam in the Garden of Eden for what? To protect this species, to protect the Mother Earth. It's now me and you to also stand as stewards of what? The Mother Earth, protecting the Mother Earth from the encroachers, from people who are trying to politicize everything. No, it's about, because politics, yes, we are going to practice, say all everything, but at the end of the day, if maybe thousands of lives are lost, who is going to be asked? They will start, NEMA, where were you when people perish? Oh, the president, what did you put in place? When we have all the policies in place, but it's now the government to do a lot of what's called, invest in a lot of what's called human capital, or what's called the bridging the knowledge gap, so that people are empowered, people are informed, they know these policies, they know these acts, they know the government programs in relation to environment. Then they start becoming what? Stewards and environmental, even police officers of the environment, where you find that an LC1 will not just allow an investor to come in a community just to start erecting a mall or an industry without having information from the district, having information maybe from NEMA. You should, like an LC1, you need to ask someone, where is your KCC recommendation? Where is the certificate that you have got from NEMA? And LC1, you have that mandate. Even, I like what the people of Munyonyo did with the issue of Sudir, which everyone is saying. It was the community that acted first. They had even to involve to call the vice president, that's Honorable Gilbert Bukenya, who is the presidential advisor on environment. They had involvement. And why? The wetland was safe because of involving that the people and the mainstream media in this agenda. Because you cannot leave the mainstream media out. That's the reason why right now we are working with UCTV, Uganda Catholic Television, and we give a very big applause to them for embracing this, to picking up such programs like this, to reach out to the grassroots, to reach out to the people, to reach out to the government, to reach out to the people who are still ignorant about what? The environmental issues, so that they get that knowledge about this and they understand. And that's the reason why we are not calling only that a government approach. We are calling every stakeholders. Please, the issue of the Mother Earth is not only for the government alone or NEMA alone. It's for everyone. That's why the UN SDG slogan said, leave no one behind. We need not to leave anyone behind. We need to be in this inclusive of your age, gender, or your disability. No, we need to be included in this to protect the Mother Earth. Thank you very much.